So just with your knees up to the ceiling, feet flat on the floor, we'll just take a couple of breaths here. Well, actually 3 breaths. And just to settle ourselves, it's been a bit of a set to get here this morning for me. So let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Fill the belly with air and allow the belly to expand. And then breathing out through the nose. And soften the belly again. Breathing in through the nose. And out. And in. And out. And then just bringing your eyes open if they're not open already. Let's take a nice deep breath and just have a little stretch for the arms. So breathing in, lift the arms above the head and allow them to float behind you. And then as we breathe out, start to float the hands back down by your side. And again, breathing in. And lift, lengthen, breathe out. And lower. Breathe in. This time, leave them behind you on the floor. And you're going to see if you can draw your shoulders into your back. So allow the arms just to fall, but draw the shoulders in, widening across the shoulder blades. And then on the next out breath, let's lower the hands back down beside your body, palms facing down. I'm going to do a few kind of moving into bridge poses, just warming the hips. So take a nice deep breath in, and then on the out breath, start to tuck the pelvis under. Gently press the feet into the floor, lifting the hips up to the ceiling. Don't go so high. We're only going to be here a moment, because then on the next in breath, you're going to begin to roll down through the spine. And we're going to do that 3 more times, breathing out, rolling up, and the hips lift. Breathe in, and they lower. Breathe out, lifting the hips up. Breathe in and lower the hips to the floor. This time we're going to breathe out and lift the hips, but you're going to hold them there. So just lifting the hips as high as you can this time. If you want to, you can interlace your fingers underneath your back and walk onto your shoulders for a slightly more dynamic bridge pose. And then on the next out breath, plant the hands, walk off your shoulders and roll down through the spine. Good. Hug those knees in towards your chest. So bring the feet off the floor and just give those knees a little hug. And we can go side to side. So have a little rock of the body. And then we're just going to circle the knees at the hip. So if you're going to do a little clockwise circle, massaging the lower back into the mat, and then a anti-clockwise or the other way. And then we're going to switch our core on. So let's bring the shins parallel with the floor. My knees are at 90 degrees. I'm going to bring the hands into a T position beside me, or cactus with bent elbows. And then you're going to start to draw your belly button in towards the back. So you're reducing the gap that the lower back makes onto the floor by drawing that belly in. Really working the core. Now we're going to float the legs over to the right. So keeping them in this square position, just draw the knees over to the right. They're not going to fall on the floor. They're just floating and they just float off. As soon as you get there, draw the left hip back into the mat using your core and your belly button and bring it back into the ground. Let's do that again on the other side. So knees float over to the left. And then drawing the right hip back into the mat, bringing the knees up. We're going to repeat that once more, right and left. So both knees over to the right. They just get there and float. And then drawing the left hip into the sit bone, drawing the belly button into the mat. Once more, over to the left. And drawing both knees in, up, and belly. Good. And then allow the feet to fall onto the floor, giving your belly and your core a little workout there. Let's draw the right knee in towards the chest this time. So keeping the left leg bent, right leg comes in. And let's circle the knee outwards. So we're just massaging the hips. And then circling the knee inwards. And then hug that knee in, but lengthen the left leg away. And flex the left foot and the right foot so that we get a little energy going through the backs of the legs. And then planting the left hand on the right knee, we'll come into a lower back stretch. The right hand comes into a T position or a cactus position, and we draw the right knee over towards the left for a lower back. Take your gaze towards your right hand and allow that right shoulder just to fall to the floor. Just use the breath to allow yourself not to grip at the hip, so the knee should just nicely fall. And then draw that right hip back into the mat and lifting that right knee back up to the ceiling. Swap legs, so let's bring both knees back up to the ceiling, and we're going to do that on the left side. So draw the left knee in towards the chest and give it a nice little hug with your hands. Open the knee outwards, so we're massaging the knee at the hips. And then inwards, bringing the knee inwards. And then hug the knee in once more. This time, lengthen the right leg away and then flex both feet. So the right leg is on the floor, the left leg is flexed, and we're just sending some energy through the backs of the legs. Plant the right hand onto the left knee, and then the left hand comes into a T position. You draw your left knee over to the right side of the mat. You might need to just have a little shuffle over, so the left knee comes towards the floor, and the gaze goes over to the left hand.
The back of the left shoulder stay on the
floor? Yes, you're trying to draw it to the floor. It might not. Yeah. So that's the twist bit. So the left shoulder wants to lift off, and you're trying to draw the left shoulder down as well as the left knee down towards the floor. And then bring that left knee hip back into the mat and roll over onto your back here. We're going to hug the knees once more in nice and tight. And then take the hands behind the backs of the knees. We're going to have a little roll on our spine 3 times. So using the hands behind the backs of the knees, we're going to rock and roll on our spine forward and back. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and find our sitting position. Lovely. Let's come through and find our easy pose on the mat. Nice cross-legged. Lovely. And if you need a block or anything, are you all right there on the floor? Yeah. Good. So just getting yourself settled on a bolster or a block if you need to have a little extra height there. So we're going to do just some seated stretches here. So I'm going to lift my right hand up to the ceiling, and my exhale, my left hand stretches and reaches away. We're just going to stay here in this position for a few breaths. So let's breathe in, and then on the out breath, see if you can just lengthen the right arm away from you, drawing the right sit bone into the mat. So you're creating that long line between the hand and the sit bone. And again, inhale and exhale. We're staying here. One more breath, breathing in and out. And then inhale, lifting up And exhale, lower the hand. We're going to do that on the other side. So again, lifting as we inhale, the left hand lifts up. Exhale, slide the right hand away. And we take a little stretch and a lean. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. So you're making a connection between the left sit bone and left hand, lengthening in as you breathe, and use the breath to sink into the pose. And then inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Let's walk the hands forward. So let's bring our hands forward, and we're just going to take a little forward fold. So just creeping those hands, going as far as you can. And when you can't go any further forward, that's as where you're balancing or staying. And again, we're going to take 3 breaths here. And then you're going to visualize the back just lengthening and falling. Breathing in and out. And you might feel the body sink and settle. If it is, you can just walk those hands out a little bit further. Try and maintain those sit bones on the floor. They want to lift off. And then on the next in-breath, walking the hands back and then bring the hands behind you. So we're going to take our hands in little crab position at the hip. We're going to open the elbows nice and square, and we're going to use those hands to lift our spine. The spine can't lift anymore, and we lift the chest up to the ceiling, and we take a little arch of the back, opening the body. And bring the gaze forward again, release. Let's take a twist, but I'm going to swap my legs over. So let's bring the left leg in front just to have a little twist and even everything out. We're going to take the right hand to the left knee, the left hand at the hip. We lengthen the spine, and then we twist, taking the gaze over the left shoulder. And again, we're going to stay here 3 breaths. Every out breath, see if you can just twist a little bit further. And then release. Let's come the other side. So bring the left hand to the right knee, the right hand beside you. That's it. We lengthen the spine, and then as we breathe out, we twist and take the gaze over the right shoulder. And again, 3 breaths. With each out breath, just eke out a little extra twist. And then bring the gaze forward. Let's swing the legs over to one side, and we're going to come into an all fours position. So let's bring ourselves here. Now, that's good. So let's plant the hands underneath us. We're going to bring the knees underneath the hips and the hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to come into our cow-cats. So we breathe in, tipping the pelvis forward. We arch the back, we take the gaze up and open the chest. As we exhale, we start to tuck the pelvis under. We draw the belly button towards the spine, and the gaze goes to the thighs. Inhale, tipping the pelvis forward. Take the gaze all the way up. And exhale, tucking the pelvis under. And gaze to the thighs. Last one. Breathing in, arching the back. And exhale, breathing out and tucking the pelvis under. Good. And then let's bring our back to all fours here in this position. I'm going to take my right leg behind me, and we'll come in for our spinal balance. So let's just tuck the toes under onto the floor first and lengthen the back of the leg. So we're just using our energy to send some energy through the heel of the foot and the back of the leg. So we're having giving the leg a little stretch. And then we shift our shoulders over our hands, release the right leg from the floor, and we're going to just have a little hover. Draw your belly button in towards you, and see if we can make a nice static, strong pose here. Now lengthen the left arm away for our full spinal balance. If you need to place the left hand back down on the mat, you're very welcome. And lower the left hand, lower the right knee. Good. And we're going to come in for our thread the needle here for the shoulders. So we inhale, the left hand lifts up to the ceiling. We open the chest, we take the gaze up, and then we slide the left hand underneath the armpit, squaring the right elbow and bringing the left cheek towards the mat. And again, we're going to stay here for a few breaths, just opening the shoulder. And then inhale, lifting that left hand back and planting it underneath you. Let's take the left leg back this time on the floor, tucking the toes under. And we draw the heel away from us, lengthening through the back of the leg. Shift the shoulders over the hands, the foot releases from the floor. We can lift the left leg off the mat and just hover that for a moment, engaging our core, drawing our belly button in towards our spine. And when we're feeling super strong and settled, start to slide the right hand away in for our full spinal balance. Slide the right hand back down onto the mat and lower the left leg down. Let's thread the needle on the right side. So my right hand lifts up to the ceiling and we open the chest. As we exhale, we slide the right hand underneath the armpit, bringing the left cheek onto the mat, and we're going to stay here for a nice few breaths. And then inhale, use the right hand and plant yourself back on the floor. Let's tuck the toes under at the back, walk your hands back towards your knees, and we'll just come into a kneeling position, stretching the soles of the feet. We're just going to inhale, lift the hands up to the ceiling as we stretch the feet. And then exhale, plant the left hand into the mat and have a little stretch and a lean over to the side. We inhale, lift both hands up and take a little lean and a stretch over to the right side. We inhale, both hands up, and exhale, float them back down onto the mat, releasing the feet and the toes. Give those toes a little wiggle and a stretch. Circle the feet at the ankles. And then staying in this kneeling position, we're going to come into puppy pose. So I'm going to keep my knees and my hips in the same alignment, but I'm walking my hands forward and opening. So it's a preparation for downward dog. We take the hands into a V. You can take it quite wide when the forehead reaches towards the floor, and keeping our hips up. And we're really trying to reach through the shoulders, opening the back. And again, using the out breath to settle into the pose. So we're feeling the shoulders open. You might get a little bit of comfort. If so, you can always draw the hands in a little bit closer together for an extra stretch if you're settling into the pose. And then just lifting the head. Let's walk our hands back underneath us for our downward dog. So tuck the toes under, walk the hands a little bit further forward. As we breathe out, we lift the hips up to the ceiling and come into downward facing dog. Let's walk the dog out. So I'm bending and stretching one leg and the other. So I'm bending one leg and straightening the other, and having a kind of little paddle with the feet or walking the feet. Good. Let's bring both feet still, and I'm drawing my heels down towards the floor. Lift the sit bones to the ceiling at the same time. So heels down, and you want to reach those sit bones towards the ceiling. You'll feel the backs of the legs open through the chest. And then take your gaze towards your hands, and you're going to walk your feet up towards them. So stepping one foot in front of the other, having a little walk up. And we're going to come into ragdoll pose. So bend the knees, allow the chest to fall to the thighs. Your hands are reaching forward and you're softening your body on your legs. Allow the arms to hang. Allow the head to hang. And then let's sweep the hands over one side and over to the other side. and then come back to stillness. Walk the hands up the legs, and then rolling up through the spine, we're going to come up to standing gently, and bringing the head last. Lovely, well done. Let's come through to the center of the mat, and we'll come in for some balancing standing poses. So let's plant the feet into the floor, and we're going to spread the toes nice and wide. So just shuffle of the feet around and give those feet a nice little spread out, and make sure you're connecting with the floor and the floor's connecting with you, and you've got a nice surface area on the floor. So let's find our mountain pose. I'm just going to rotate the shoulders out slightly so the palms face forward. And then reaching my belly button towards my spine, drawing everything in, zipping it all up. And then lengthening through the spine, feeling the shoulders lower whilst the top of the head reaches up and feeling nice and long. We'll come in for a balance. So shift your shoulders over the balls of the feet, take the weight slightly further forward. You'll feel the heels lift. Pushing the balls into the floor, lift the heels off the mat and find a little rise. And then lower the feet with control. Let's bring the hands towards the heart and we bend the knees and come into chair pose. So I'm bending the knees, dropping my hips down, bringing my body slightly further forward so that I'm an imaginary seat that I'm sitting on. Good. And then we're going to hold this for 4 breaths. Breathing in. This is a really good one to generate heat and energy. And then inhale, lengthen the legs, lower the hands, and come back to mountain pose. Lovely. Just take a moment so that the energy releases from the legs. And then we're going to breathe in, lifting the hands up to high mountain this time. We draw the shoulders into the back, draw the belly button in, so we're not opening through the front of the body, but we're trying to draw our rib cage in and suck our belly to the spine. Shoulders lowering in the back, and again, we're going to come in for a little rise. So once more, shift your weight slightly forward. You'll feel the heels come off, push the balls of the feet into the ground, and the heels will rise. And then lowering the heels into the mat, keep the arms where they are, and we're going to come into full chair pose. So we bend the knees, drop the hips, the body comes slightly forward as an imaginary chair. If it's too much for you, you can always take your arms back to your heart, bringing your hands inward. And inhale, lengthen the legs, lower the hands, and just take a little rest there, shaking everything out. Well done. Bit of control there. For so small things, it's a lot of control. So that's good. Well done. So let's come in for our first balance. Now we're switching on our core, and we're just going to do tree pose. So let's, your hands can either be at your heart, or they can be above your head, or at your hips if you're feeling a little bit wobbly. So let's take our hands towards our heart, and we all just, again, set ourselves up. So find that really strong mountain pose. I'm drawing my hands towards my heart. I'm lowering my shoulders into my back. I'm going to shift my weight over towards my left foot, and that means my right foot now comes off the floor. Let's turn out the leg and bring the foot towards the ankle, the calf, or the thigh, and assisting it up there. And then lowering the foot down. Well done. Excellent work. A nice moment of stillness there. Just circle the feet at the ankles. Give those ankles a little ease out. Quite a lot of tension. And then we'll do that on the other side. So again, let's bring our hands towards our heart, zipping our center line up the middle of the body. And then we shift our weight over towards our right leg this time. That means the left leg releases from the floor. We take the foot and either prop it up in the ankle, take it to the ankle, the calf, or the thigh. And then release and lower. Well done. Again, let's circle the feet at the ankles. Let's give them a little workout. Good. So we're going to do half pyramid pose and triangle pose as a nice little sequence, something a bit for the stronger standing legs. So I'm going to take my right foot to the short edge of the mat. My left foot's going to come to the long edge of the mat. Make sure my heel is in line with the arch of the foot just here. So we'll just make some adjustments. And I'm going to take my hands towards my hips because my hips are kind of, at the minute, in line with the front edge of the mat. I'm going to rotate my hips towards the right leg. So I'm going to twist and my legs want to go with me. There's a natural twisting there. What you want to do is just protect the hips by trying to open the legs out. So it's rather than buckling at the knees, use the thighs to keep those legs rotated outwards. Good. Now we're going to come into pyramid pose. We breathe out and my body comes down and parallel with the floor. Fun today anyway. So we'll feel a pull down the backs of the legs. We're just going to stay in this pose here with our hands at the hips. The full pose, if you want to, you can take your hands away from your hips, bringing your hands to your thighs, your shins, your feet, or the floor. But it is Saturday morning, so let's just give it just a test for this morning. And then inhale, lifting the back upright, and then untwisting the hips. And let's just give the backs of the legs a little stamp out, because we're going to come back into triangle pose, which again is slightly for the backs of the legs as well. So reset your feet and we'll come into triangle pose. If you want to use a block at this point, place the block at the front of the feet. Alternatively, you can place your hands on your legs at different positions. So engage the thighs. My hips are parallel with the long edge of the mat. So Glynis, if you just want to turn those hips rather than them, other way. So they're going to come forward to the yes, that's it. Yes, that's all right. No, it's fine. We were there. We're going to inhale. We lengthen our arms parallel with the floor. Good. And then we lengthen the right arm away from us, but keep the arms parallel. We create space at the waist at this point, and then we drop the hand down to the thigh, the shin, not the knee, because the knee is a little bit fragile. So you might want to take your hand to your shin and the upper arm upwards, perpendicular. So we're trying, that's it, lovely. We're trying to open that top shoulder and be nice and flat. And if you want to, you can take your gaze upwards. That opens the top shoulder, and we're just having a really strong stretch over the left hip. Use the left arm to lift yourself up out the pose and push the feet into the floor to release. Good. Let's bring the legs in and have a little stamp out of their feet. Ease out of the hips, and we're going to do those two on the other side now. So let's place the right foot to the short edge, the left foot to the long edge. We'll come into our half pyramid pose first. So we take our hands towards our hips. We're going to turn the hips towards the left leg, at the same time rotating the thighs outwards. So we're protecting the knees by engaging the thighs and twisting. And then we drop the body forward as we breathe out, bringing the body parallel with the floor. And we'll just take a little moment here, holding for a number of breaths. And then we inhale, lifting up. And let's just release any tension from the backs of the legs, having a little stamp out. Again, twisting of the ankles and the feet. Very nice. Let's come into our triangle pose. So reset the feet again. Engage the thighs. And we're going to inhale, lifting the hands up to shoulder level. We exhale, lengthen the left arm away from us, creating space at the waist, to then drop our hand down and bring it to the thigh, the shin, the ankle, or the floor. And then your right hand lifts up to the ceiling, nice and perpendicular. And we inhale, lift the right hand all the way up, and we come back up to standing. Good. Let's release the legs and have a little stretch of the ankles. Lovely. So we're going to do salute to the sun for this morning. I'm going to come to the top edge and I'm doing a variation which has a lunge in. So it's slightly different to ones we've done before. So let's bring our feet to the front edge of the mat. And we'll do this nice and slow and steady rather than moving through quite quickly. We'll just have a little nice steady pace this morning because it's first thing. So we inhale, we lift the hands up to the ceiling. We exhale, we bring our hands towards heart center. We breathe in, take the hands up, take a back bend, and take the chest and the gaze up. We exhale, slide the hands away from us into a swan dive, and our body comes forward. We can release the knees if it's too much for us and have a little soft bend. We inhale into monkey pose, so fingertips either on the thighs or onto the fingertips onto the floor. And then we exhale, bend the knees and soften the backs of the legs, bringing the hands towards the floor. Good. We step the right leg out and we're going to come into a lunge. So I'm stepping my right leg back and I'm going to drop my right knee down towards the floor. I'm untucking the toes at the back and I'm going to come into a runner's lunge here. So inhale, lift the hands up to the ceiling and allow the hips to come forward on the exhale. So allowing the hips to release. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Breathing in and out. In and out. In. And on the out breath, slide the hands down by the body. They're going to come to the floor and you tuck the toes under at the back. Lift the back knee off the mat and I'm in a lunge. Now I'm going to come and find my way into plank. So plant the hands into the floor, release the left leg, and we're going to hold the plank for 2 breaths. Breathing in. You can lower your knees down to the mat if you don't want to come into full plank into a modified. And on the next out breath, knees, either lower the knees, chest, chin, or shift the shoulders over the hands and come into chaturanga, lowering yourself down to the body. We untuck the toes and have our elbows in nice and tight. Lengthen the legs away from you. And we inhale into cobra, gently lifting the body up. I'm going to stay here for 3 breaths, so keep it nice and steady. And then exhale, lower the back down. We bring our legs in line with our hips and tuck our toes under. We push up into plank, so lifting everything up. And then exhale into downward facing dog, lifting the hips up to the ceiling. Lower those heels down into the mat. And then inhale, lift the right leg off the mat into 3-legged dog. So we lift the right leg all the way off, good. And then we lower it back. We're going to step that right leg through into a runner's lunge. So if we can't step the right leg through, we can lower the knees down onto the mat and then slide the right leg forward back into our runner's lunge. Good. And again, we're going to come into a nice runner's lunge here. So we inhale, lift the hands up to the ceiling, and we're going to stay here for 3 breaths, allowing the hips to open. On the next out breath, slide the hands down by the foot. We tuck our toes under at the back. We lift the back knee off the mat and then push the left foot to meet the right foot. And we're in our forward fold. We'll just hang here for a moment, just allowing everything to settle. Soft knees if you need it. And then we're going to inhale through swan dive. So lengthen through the backs of the legs. The back lengthens, the arms come up the side of the body. We bring our hands all the way up to the ceiling and then exhale, hands come to heart center. And we finished our little round. Release the hands and we'll do that all on the other side. Is that okay? Good, well done. So just set yourself up. We're going to come and do that on the other side. So inhale, we lift the left hand, both hands up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands come to heart center. We inhale, lift the hands up to the ceiling, keep the palms together, and we take a back bend, and the gaze goes up. We exhale, the hands part, and we bend at the hips and through swan dive, bring our body down, forward fold. You can soften at the knees and allow the body to fall forward. We'll just hang here for a moment, allowing the back to settle, arms and shoulders to soften. And then we're going to inhale into monkey pose. So fingertips 6 inches in front of the toes, or hands on the thighs. We lengthen through the backs of the legs and we lengthen the spine. We exhale, we bend the knees, soften the body onto the thighs, bring the hands towards the floor, and we step the left leg out into a lunge. We lower the back knee down onto the mat and untuck the toes. We're going to push the right foot into the floor as we sweep the hands in up to the ceiling. And then we're going to hold for 3 breaths, just allowing the hips to sink and settle. On the next out breath, slide the hands towards either side of the right foot. We tuck the toes under at the back and we lift the back foot off the back knee off the mat. We're going to slide the right foot to meet the left foot this time into plank. And we're going to hold plank for 2 breaths. Now you can lower your knees down towards the mat if you want to, into a modified plank, if that's within your practice today. On the next out breath, either lower the knees, the chest and the chin, or shift your shoulders over the hands, tucking those elbows in and lowering yourself, chaturanga, onto the floor. Untuck the toes, bring those elbows in nice and tight, and lengthen the legs away from you as you breathe in, lift the chest up here, and we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. On the exhale, lower the back down. Nice and slow. Bring the legs in line with the hips, tuck the toes under. Push through the hands and the toes into plank. As you breathe in, and then as you breathe out, send the hips towards the ceiling. We're going to stay here just a moment before lifting the left leg off the floor on the in-breath, and then stepping the left leg through into a runner's lunge, or lowering the knees into square, and then bringing the left knee forward. If you need to, just shift that leg with the hand, it's absolutely fine. Lower the right knee back down to the mat, untuck the toes. We're going to inhale, both hands come up to the ceiling, back in our runner's lunge. And exhale, slide the hands back down, either side of the left foot. Tuck the toes under at the back and lift the back knee off the mat. Step the right foot to meet the left foot, and we're now softening our body over our legs. And we'll just allow ourselves to hang there for a moment. We're going to inhale, lengthen through the backs of the legs, lengthen the spine, so it's reverse swan dive. Arms come up the side of the body. We lift them all the way to the ceiling before bringing our hands towards our heart and finishing our little flow. And that's us done. Well done. Lovely. Should be feeling nice and open in the hips today. Good. So we're going to just do one more straddle pose just for the backs of the legs and widening the legs. So let's bring the toes pointing forward, heels pointing back, and we're going to have a nice wide-legged straddle pose. So I'm going to start with my hands behind me. I'm going to interlace the fingers. I'm going to draw my hands down the back of my body and open the chest, lifting the gaze and up to the ceiling. We open. Then as we exhale, bending at the hips, bringing the body parallel with the floor. Good. We'll just take a moment there. So make sure you're not pushing into the backs of the hips. See if you can just shift your weight so that the weight's into the balls of the feet. Now, option 1 is just to stay here. Option 2 is to lower the body. Option 3 is to reach the hands up towards the ceiling. And then we're taking our gaze in between our legs. We inhale, bring the hands towards the back of the body, if that's not there already. Lift the body upright and push the feet into the floor, bringing the body up. Good. We release the hands, and I'm going to turn the right leg out so it's nice and wide. The left leg is going to stay where it is. I'm going to inhale, lift the hands up, and then I'm going to bend my right knee and come into a lunge, bringing my body forward and coming into a side lunge. Good. Inhale, lift the back, and then lengthen the leg and lower the hands. We're going to rotate the other way. So the right foot comes forward, left foot starts to point outwards. We inhale, the arms come up. And then as we exhale, we bend the left leg, bringing the body parallel with the floor. We come into a side lunge. We inhale, lift the body upright, pushing the feet into the floor, lower the hands. And then we're going to walk the feet in towards us, toes pointing out, heels pointing in. So they're slightly wide, but they're wider than perhaps normal, because we're going to come into a squatting position into garland. So we inhale, lift the hands up to the ceiling. We exhale, we bring our hands towards our heart. As we do so, we bend the knees, we take our energy downwards, and we come into a squatting position if we can. If we need to bring ourselves and bring our hands towards the earth to settle ourselves, we can. So we're just lifting our back up, finding a balance, and opening through the knees. We're trying to draw our heels down. If you need to place your hands on the floor, we've lost balance, that's absolutely fine. Now we're going to place the right hand onto the mat, and the left hand is going to reach up to the ceiling, and we open outwards in a twist. So we're using that hand to open. We exhale, bring the left hand down, and we'll repeat that on the right side. Left hand lifts up, and we open. We exhale, bring both hands back down onto the floor, and then we're just lowering right knee down, nice and gently. Swing the legs over and find ourselves in a seated position. So if you need to get your block and sit on the block, we're going to come into cobbler's pose, or your bolster, or however you want to be today. It's fine. So I've got my soles of the feet together, and I'm bringing my body upright, lovely, drawing my belly button in. I'm going to breathe out and lengthen forward through the spine, softening the shoulders. Let's bring the hands towards the feet, and we're going to stay here for 4 breaths. And I really want you to think about not gripping at the hips, but using the out breath to release any tension or grippiness that you might be holding in the lower back and in the hips. And then rolling up through the spine. Lovely. We're going to take the right leg out to the side. The left leg is going to stay where it is. And then my right hand is going to hold the left ankle. My left hand is going to reach up. And then I'm going to reach the left hand towards the right toes. I'm flexing the foot so that I'll get some energy through the back of the leg. We inhale, lift up, and exhale, we're going to swap over. So I'm going to bring the right leg in, the left leg lengthens out, and we're sitting up nice and straight and tall. Good. I'm going to take my left hand and place it onto my right ankle, and my right hand comes beside me. I'm going to breathe in, lift the right hand up, and then breathe out and reach that right hand towards the foot. We're trying not to collapse that right shoulder. I'm opening through the back, and I'm lifting and opening the gaze. And then inhale and lift, and exhale and lower. Lovely. I'm going to take both my legs over to one side, so they're nice and long. You might want to curl. Oh no, you'll be all right. We're going to come into half Lord of the Fishes. So you might want to not sit on the block at this point. So option 1 is to bend the right leg and step the right leg over the left leg. Good. Option 2, the full pose, is to sweep the left leg beside the right hip and making sure that both sit bones are on the floor, and my right foot is reaching towards the floor as well. So it's not for everybody. So let's take the left hand and place it onto the right knee. Draw that right knee in towards you. We sweep the right hand beside the right hip. We lengthen through the spine and draw both sit bones into the mat before twisting and taking your gaze over the right shoulder. And then bringing both shoulders forward. Lovely. Release the left foot from the hip and make that foot nice and long. My right foot is going to now step not over the leg, but on the inside of the right leg. The right foot is going to be the inside of the left leg. I'm going to take my left hand and place it behind me, fingertips pointing away from you. And my right arm is going to come in front of me, in front of the right leg. This is a side plank. So what I'm going to do is I'm twisting my left leg. I'm going to balance on the outside edge of that left foot. So I'm twisting here and I'm pushing into the right foot, lifting the hips up, sending the right arm up and lifting the hips up through this, up to the ceiling if we can. Good. And then lower the hips back down towards the mat. Well done. Let's bring both legs long, release the hand, and just give those wrists a little workout. That's quite a lot of energy on those hands. And let's do that little flow on the other side. So I'm going to step my left foot over my right foot. Option 1, keeping the right leg long. Option 2, sweeping that right leg beside the left hip and just making sure both sit bones are on the mat and your right foot is planted into the floor. Well, the right hand is on the left knee and the left hand comes beside your hip. I'm inhaling and lengthening the spine. As I exhale, take the gaze over the left shoulder, using the hand on the knee to draw it in. You can also hook that hand over the knee to get a deeper twist. And then release. Lovely. Rewind and unhook everything. So my right leg is now long. My left foot is going to come on the inside of my right leg. My right hand is going to come behind me, fingertips facing away from you. I'm going to take my left arm in front of my left leg, and then I'm going to rotate the right leg. So I'm going to balance on the outside of the foot. Lift the hips up to the ceiling and take the left arm up to the sky. We lower the hips down towards the floor and then bring ourselves back up to a seated position. Give those arms and wrists a little workout. Let's roll ourselves down towards the floor. So you can do knees bent, hands behind the backs of the legs, and just begin to roll down through the spine, coming onto the floor for a little bit of rest here. So let's just come into a reclined pigeon just for a nice hip stretch. So I'm planting my right foot onto the left knee. I'm opening my right knee out from the hip, then taking the right hand through the legs, the left hand on the outside of the left leg, and then draw the left knee in towards the chest, taking the hands either behind the back of the knee or on top of the knee, and having a nice deep stretch. And you might want to have a little motion in this. So rather than it being a static pose, you could do a little rocking side to side or a little rocking forward and back. Finding your sweet spot for what you need today. And then release. Plant the left foot into the mat and we'll swap legs. Right foot goes into the floor. Left foot goes on top of the right knee. We open the left knee out from the hip. And then take the left hand through the leg and the right hand on the outside of the leg. Draw the right knee in towards you. And once more, we'll take a few moments. And then lower the right foot down, release the left leg. Let's come into happy baby pose to finish. So lifting both feet off the floor, reaching them to the ceiling. We open the knees, and you can either have your hands behind your knees, drawing your knees into your armpits, or take the hands on the outside of the ankles or feet and draw those knees into the armpits. And then we're just going to take a nice gentle rocking sensation. You can do rock side to side. And then release, lowering the feet down to the floor. And we're ready for our relaxation or Savasana at the end of the class. So get yourself settled on the mat. You might want a blanket or put an extra layer on. So getting yourself settled, just you can either have your feet flat on the floor with your knees up to the ceiling, or perhaps have your legs long, slightly wider than, and allow the hips to rotate outwards. Bring your hands either onto your belly or beside your body. And then just begin to settle the breath. So it might be slightly heavier or deeper. So let's just take some longer breaths, trying to make the in and the out breath the same length of time. So let's lengthen the in breath and lengthen the out breath. And just feel the body settle. Everything returning to a nice steady state. So whilst we're nicely slowing and steadying our breath, let's take our focus to the muscles in the group. You might be holding a little bit of tension there. So just become aware of some tension that you might be holding in your body. Noticing each body part in turn. So maybe there's some tension in the forehead, the cheeks or the jaw. And see if you can relax the face. Maybe there's some tension that you're holding in your throat or the upper back. And allow the shoulders just to soften and be a little bit more heavier into the floor. Maybe you're holding your belly or your abdomen gripping. Allow the belly to soften. Take your focus now perhaps to your hips and your pelvis, the lower back. Perhaps you're just holding some tension in the lower back, the buttocks, the hips, and just feel the pelvis widen and soften. Allow the muscles either side of the spine to relax. Now take your focus to your thighs, your knees, your calves. Allow the legs to feel long and heavy and relaxed. And we're going to finish with the poem, Yield. Allow yourself to yield. Allow yourself to slow down. Allow yourself to find a new pace of life. The more you can see and notice, the more you slow down. As birds quiet their song when darkness falls, as the caterpillar wraps itself in the warmth of a death, as winds decide they've blown enough seeds off the trees and the lakes become clear again. Find your calm. There is an eye in the storm. It's found in the center, where the winds of change do not disturb you. There's no more need to take ammunition to the sculpture of your life. Your purpose is not a project to be pummeled and moulded into some small-minded picture, but invited to blossom, to open up before you in a miracle of unfolding vision. As the river opens its mouth to the ocean, relax and listen to your soul's song. Very slowly start to take your focus back to your body and your breath again. Bring some attention to your fingers and toes, and perhaps take another nice deeper breath, sending that energy to the hands and the feet. Begin to lengthen the arms and the legs, and again taking a nice deep breath and giving them a stretch. Start to have more motion in your body. Taking some nice deeper breaths, and perhaps blinking your eyes open and beginning to roll over onto your side to sit up when you're ready. And we'll just end with our little greeting once we're all well done. So let's bring our hands towards our heart just to finish with, and we'll just say thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you enjoyed the class in the room and on Zoom, and apologies for all the little besets and gremlins this morning we had.